Sesaat lagi Anda akan menyaksikan Asia Forward in association with
Minister, this is all about Indonesia security right now, and then we are really worried about the safety of Indonesian people. There are 270,000 Indonesian people in Taiwan, and according to you, if the war happens, nobody is safe. So how to secure the safety of Indonesian people in Taiwan and also Indonesian people in Indonesia?
There are two issues involved in this. The first issue is about the Indonesians living in Taiwan, working in Taiwan. And I think in general, they are quite happy living and working in Taiwan. They are protected by our law. They're protected by the minimum wage. And as far as we can see, all those Indonesians are happily working in Taiwan. And we are also trying to provide all kinds of necessary support to them, hoping that they would stay in Taiwan more extensively than what the law requires right now for them to stay. So this is a way we try to take care of the Indonesians living in Taiwan. And the second aspect is that we know that war is going to mean tragedy or catastrophe for Taiwan, for China, for a lot of countries that have a stake in the peace and stability over the Taiwan Strait. And therefore, we need to prevent war from happening. And that is what Taiwan, the United States, Japan, and many other countries are trying to do. And I hope the Indonesian government can also look at the situation that if there's a war over Taiwan, Indonesia is most likely is going to be impacted upon. And therefore, we should call upon the Chinese authorities not to unilaterally engage in change of the status quo over the Taiwan Strait by force or by coercion. And if we are able to persuade the Chinese authorities from thinking about using force against Taiwan, then the people here, wherever they are from Indonesia, from the Philippines, from Malaysia, they will be safeguarded here in Taiwan.
Can Taiwan and China resolve this conflict without using any military force?
Of course, that's our hope. And if you look at the key statements by President Tsai in the last few years, we always call for peaceful dialogues in between the two sides. The latest public statement by the president calling for peaceful dialogue was the National Day speech on October 10th. And we called upon the Chinese to think about the peaceful coexistence by using the peaceful dialogue or through peaceful dialogue in between Taiwan and the PRC. And if they think that the foundation for a peaceful dialogue is so important, we should get together and discuss that foundation. So this is a genuine goodwill. And the policies of the Taiwanese government is going to stay the same. We will keep our door open for peaceful dialogue in between Taiwan and China to resolve the differences in between the two sides. But I think the problem is not on Taiwan's side. After repeated call by the Taiwanese government for peaceful dialogue, I think it rests upon the other side of the Taiwan Strait to show goodwill to Taiwan and to the region as well as to the world by willing to speak with Taiwan. And their attitude toward peaceful dialogue with Taiwan is that they apply preconditions. I think they do that all the time to other countries as well. I'm sure they do that to Indonesia if they want to negotiate with Indonesia for something. The precondition they apply on Taiwan is the end result that they envision. They apply preconditions on Taiwan and asking Taiwan to accept one China principle and one country, two system model in a unification with the PRC. And look at the fact that Taiwan is already a de facto independent country. We are in the middle of presidential election, and we are also in the middle of parliamentary election. And we also have military and the Ministry of Foreign Affairs. Taiwan is by itself. Taiwan is not part of the PRC. Taiwan cannot be any part of the PRC. Or let me put it this way. About the one country, two system model. After the experience in Hong Kong, the people here in Taiwan do not want to accept the one country, two system model. We do we do public opinion surveys here all the time. asking people whether they want to accept unification or accept one country, two system model. Those people who would prefer those preconditions imposed by China is in the absolute minority. There's only a tiny bit of population here is entertaining those ideas. Absolute majority of the people here in Taiwan just reject those ideas of unification or one country, two system model. So under that kind of circumstances, I think the best approach for a peaceful dialogue to take place is for both sides to recognize the status quo. And Taiwan recognize the status quo, and we hope the PRC can also recognize the status quo so that the two sides can engage in a peaceful dialogue with each other.
Minister Wu, you just said Taiwan is de facto independent country. What is your long-term goal? Or what is Taiwan long-term goal? Is independency your long-term goal?
This is a very good question. I cannot speak for a long-term goal because I'm the Minister of Foreign Affairs of this administration. And this administration, since day one, our objective is trying to preserve the status quo, and our policies remains the same throughout these 8 years. And I cannot speak for the next administration. If it is not coming from the same political party, I won't be able to speak for it at all. But if it is the DPP candidate, our current Vice President Lai, he has pledged that he will also maintain the status quo across the Taiwan Strait. And I think that's a good policy. That is also a policy welcomed by our key friends internationally, like the United States, European countries, Japan, Australia, and etc. And we will try very hard to maintain the status quo. And we will also call upon the PRC to respect the status quo across the Taiwan Strait.
You mentioned U.S. A couple of times before, and then we know that Chinese leader Xi Jinping just went to San Francisco this November, and Xi Jinping underscored to Biden that Taiwan is the biggest and the most potentially dangerous issue in the relationship. Do you believe that Xi Jinping has successfully influenced the mindset of the U.S. leader and gained agreement on reunification?
I don't think so. We also have very close relationship with the U.S. government. In our frequent high-level contact with each other, our U.S. friends have been very frank with us on their interactions with the PRC leaders. Either Xi Jinping himself or the Chinese foreign minister or other senior officials from the PRC. They noticed that in San Francisco, the attitude of the Chinese leaders seemed to be more moderate. They say that 2027 or 2035 is not on their agenda. But they see that the Chinese activities around Taiwan, especially the military activities around Taiwan, remains the same. Even though the President Biden warns China that the Chinese government should not interfere in the Taiwan's election, but the Chinese are still doing it. And therefore, I believe that the U.S. government officials are clear-eyed about the Chinese motivation, even though they appear to be a little bit more moderate than before. But I think their motivation or the U.S. understanding of the Chinese motivation stays the same. And I think the U.S. government wants to maintain regional peace and stability, does not want any kind of conflict to take place. And therefore, they try to manage their relations with the PRC to make sure that the PRC also understand the U.S. policy, the U.S. firm policy of supporting Taiwan under the requirement of the Taiwan Relations Act, and also the U.S. firm commitment to the peace and stability over the Taiwan Strait.
Thank you so much for your time, Minister Wu. Thank you so much for this exclusive interview on CNN Indonesia.
You're absolutely welcome. Thank you.
Terima kasih, Anda baru saja menyaksikan Asia Forward in association with